Hello. We're sat here in the wonderful Hyde Park because we felt we wanted to talk about playground a little bit. And we thought, what better way to do that than to immerse ourselves in the nature of this small park in London. It's actually quite a big park.
It's a big
in
park.
It's a massive
park. What are you talking about?
It's just the fact that I can see a road. It kind of breaks the immersion for me. I'm sorry.
For fuck's sake, Sammy. We made a film a few months ago, didn't we?
That's great. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And I think we're overdue a little chat about it. And also, I'm talking about you like there's an elephant in the room, and like.
Yeah, that's what it
You're
felt
marrying
like.
my daughter.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
That's like what it sounds like we're trying to do.
All we can do is apologise. No. A lot of it came from wanting to make something that wasn't centred around like people in their mid-20s or like late teens. Because I just thought a good way of like stepping up and kind of giving the next project a new flavour and making it feel kind of more fresh is if the cast is an entirely kind of different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I either wanted to do something with a really old cast or a really young cast. I was in a place where I was just cycling a lot, kind of very monotonous, just in a big circle like a freak. Pretty much in the same spot where he falls, I fell off my bike, and it wasn't one of those like, in that moment, I wasn't. There wasn't a "That's So Raven" like.
You hit the floor, and just the whole film came to you.
No, it wasn't quite that.
I need to call people.
I imagined very seamlessly going into like another world and stuff, and thinking about how that sort of thing that's been done loads of times could be put into something more contemporary and about themes that are kind of more adult.
When you kind of started chatting to me about it and I kind of came onto the project, it was already a full script. Like it was like you'd written end to end the entire thing. What was nice, and I think that you and I work quite well in this way, is that you were very close to it, and so you know all the like intricate details and stuff, whilst I was kind of much further away from it, so I could see it as like a bigger thing. Good example, actually, going back to it, was that originally Chris's character Ezra was daydreaming, and that's kind of what caused him to crash, and then that was like a little thing that you and I talked about, where like, is there a more dramatic way of doing that, more interesting, is that a bit convenient, what if the kids did a trap and that's why they got it?
There's a lot of stuff like that, really thinking about like, I don't want to say logistics, but like just in terms of like, again, the way he was captured and stuff like that, it didn't make nearly as much sense when I'd first written a draft until we worked on it together.
I think you and I both sort of knew Chris, and we were confident about Chris, and we kind of definitely liked the idea of Chris. And there were like one or two other people we kind of chatted to and bounced around ideas and did like test readings and stuff. But I think in the end it just made sense.
We kind of kept going back to like the kind of not Robbie Williams. He likes Robbie Williams.
He loves Robbie Williams, and that gets in the
That
role.
gave us faith. No, the kind of Robin Williams thing, the Jim Carrey's, where like, more often than not, very funny actors, very funny performers can turn around an amazing dramatic performance. There's something so interesting about how intrinsically linked, those two elements are. And we got the vibe from Chris before even seeing him read the script that was in him, because he had such an understanding of comic timing that we had no reason to doubt that dramatic timing and stuff like that would be something he'd struggle with.
So obviously we knew we needed like a cast of kids, and for that we went to your old school.
So I went to a theatre school, and I did a lot of auditions and quite a lot of child acting when I was younger, and I just thought it would be the easiest thing to do because I was on good terms and I knew all the people there. But also I felt, based on my training, I felt like we would find some pretty decent kiddies.
Oh, for me it was like maybe the best string of auditions I've ever done. Like I would go that far. I don't think there was a single kid who came in who didn't in some way impress us. Like I think we could have given it to our least favourite collection of auditions and we'd still have a great cast with it. They knew their lines perfectly. They knew what they were doing. They were asking all the right questions.
I mean, like Molly, who plays Robin, you were so sort of in love with the fact that like she understood like eye lines and where to be placing the camera and like
continuity,
asking whether or not like, is this in shot? Is this in shot? It's like, she's never. I don't think she's been on camera before.
Right,
like, you fucking how?
Okay, definitely some water damage. Power to the main circuit board is completely down, but it's nothing we can't fix. Plus, the diffuser is still perfectly intact.
And then India, who played Captain, who was like, in the best day of auditions, that was probably the best audition we've had.
Yeah,
I remember
absolutely.
we were fairly locked on another person, and she was the last audition of the day, India, and we saw her, and like the switch from the most adorable little girl you've ever seen.
Came in, this tiny little girl, very cute, polite and lovely, and just as soon as she turned into Captain, her face just switched.
Terrifying. And in the audition tape, you can hear us, and especially you, like laughing because of how genuinely terrified and on edge she made us feel.
Don't patronise us. Introduction. I'm Captain, head of the committee.
Her audition ended, and I think we barely talked about it. Like, I think we barely had to discuss it.
There was no question.
She left the room, and it was myself and Bertie and our producer Becky. This is when Becky came onto the project. We'll talk about Becky in a sec. But I think pretty much the three of us just looked at each other and went, "Oh well, it's her then." You know, like well, there we go. We have
question.
Captain.
No question. And like Zachary, who played Puck, he was one of the first. I think he was the first Puck we auditioned. Yeah. And I think fairly instantly the kind of cheekiness.
Yeah.
He was really conveying that.
Ow!
I know what I'm doing. Look to the left.
How did it even end up in a lake?
We crashed.
Zachary, just as a kid, is a cheeky boy. Like, there was a whole thing where, in the most Bart Simpson way, he kept telling everyone how fast he was. He was a really fast runner.
Right.
And there was that shot in the film, you might remember, where Chris is running with all the kids chasing up the snip diddler, and Chris, just in terms of the plot, narratively, he has to overtake them. He has to. We did like 10 takes because Zachary was refusing to let this guy overtake him. And there was almost, and in the most adorable way, there was almost this passive aggressiveness to the later takes because Zachary just was kind of walking like an idiot. It was like, he was literally trying to say to us, it's like ridiculous that I would ever run this slowly. Look how stupid I look. Do you want this? Is this what you want?
Yeah.
And I was like, you little twerp.
He was by far the actor who kind of was closest to his character, I would say.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
He was great fun. And then finally Sam, who is who you never get to hear talk in the actual film
Sam
itself.
is India's brother.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah.
That was not
ever a thing.
That was an accident.
They were never
basically.
supposed to be related.
Right.
But there was just such a because it felt as though Sam was kind of just tagging along to the audition in a sense. And their mum, who's so nice. Their mum is like such a nice woman. She was very like, "Oh, go on, Sam. Like, you do the audition as well." And he hasn't had much experience. But it's just his eyes, man. His eyes, like.
He was very because the thing that was interesting with Oswald as a character is for auditioning him he doesn't have any lines, so we did a lot more we led like a little workshop that was a lot more physical and it was a lot more about kind of getting laughs out of the facial expressions, and the guy was just cracking us up.
I knew a sieve helmet would look so funny on him. I just knew, and I knew it could never fit him entirely.
And he had a lot of trouble. He had to hold that a lot, but I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a take. I can't remember if it's in the edit where he does the spit, and as he spits, the helmet
like,
and he has to like
off.
adjust it. When the first draft was kind of taking form, and I knew what I wanted the film to roughly be, I realised that it's the production design in the kids that would make or break the film. If the kids were crap, the film would be crap. If the production design was crap, the film would be crap, and vice versa. Ed Stockham did these amazing concept art pieces that did so much for inspiring the art department. There's aspects of this film that are somewhat Kick the PJ-ish. It sort of Kick the PJ if it was more depressing. I did just, I thought about the kind of Kick the PJ crew, and I thought of Sophie and Louis. I just thought, like, who else, you know? Like, honestly, who else would it be? And those guys, in such little time, like in maybe like a week, they built us 2 versions of a rocket. They built us the interior of a rocket.
Right.
They built all the weapons, all the cost. Like, Sylvia and Sylvia helped out. A woman called Sylvia who did the makeup, also helped with the costumes and like all that shit.
Make it chomp. make its head move around a bit, kind of snake it around.
Oh my god, I'm so weak.
The thing I said when we first got on set was more so than any of the other films that I've done or that we've done. The image I was seeing through the monitor was the closest to what was in my head when I first thought of it.
Totally agree with
The
that.
closest it had ever been.
Yeah.
And it's weird because this is like most of my other shit just takes place in a living room.
right,
But for some reason, the one that should have been the most difficult to like realize was just realized so perfectly by all these people.
This is where we introduce Rebecca Hewitt, otherwise known as Lovely Becky, who is, I would maybe say, the most integral person in actually getting this film made. I think we need to start by going like, thank you, Becky.
Yeah. Oh my god. Me and Sammy have a reputation with producers for
breaking them.
For breaking them to the point where we make these films that are so hard to produce that they don't want to do it anymore because it's hard. And Becky, everyone was saying, no, Becky can't be broken. Becky is like the strongest woman, like, and she didn't break. Of course she didn't. But
she got close to it.
Like, you can see Becky is the most positive, smiley person. All she wants to do is reassure everyone on set that everything's okay. But even Becky, when we were making calls, begging councils across London, let us film in your park,
please.
She was like just breaking a little bit. You could just see it.
No, I mean,
and
put it
felt
this
so
way:
bad.
if she was ever near to breaking, I would say I was about 20 steps more broken. Do you know what I mean? Like she was the calm voice of presence. Because the thing is, we were in a situation where pretty much everything was good to go, but one of the biggest things that was still unresolved was the location. Yeah. It literally got to the point where we were, I think, literally 2 days away from shooting, and the location still wasn't locked because the problem was that one park had kind of said, oh, that's fine, you can shoot whatever you want, but it's like £1,000 an hour. Other ones have been like, oh, you can shoot, but just for 2 days and nothing else. And so we were manically on the phone trying to get stuff locked. Everything else was ready, bar the location, and my God, I was losing sleep over it. Yeah. But unsurprisingly, Lovely Becky
We did it. And
worked her magic.
Wimbledon Common.
Wimbledon Common.
And I loved being there.
So this is maybe where we're imagining Puck scouting out Ezra as he starts to run, and then shooting it either through there maybe, and just knocking him out so he lands on the ground there.
This is what we're thinking for the chase, the hunt scene. You know, the Snipdilla going through the grass is nice, and then he kills him. Lovely.
And then once they've arrived here, there's like this kind of nice ground thing where we could have the sword like sing, and it's quite, I quite like this kind of material. No.
And those lunches, because we got a deal with the like cafe at this place called Wimbledon Common, and it was just a lovely little cafe. It's made us these nice meals. And like after being cold in the forest to then huddle up warm with all these nice kids
lasagna
and like try not swear around them. Yeah, lovely lasagna.
Yeah, it was great.
I missed that. I really did. Maybe I'm just hungry.
We wanted lunch, then we went home. Moving on. So when we got on set, on a set that could have gone disastrously wrong, I feel like actually we were so nervous that like we were just so like on it, and we knew exactly what we were doing. And I often find that like it's always the sets where you're quite relaxed and you're like, this will be fine, everything will go smoothly, that it never does. I think the thing that took way longer than we wanted it to ended up being the conversation between Emma and Chris in the doorway. Like that, I think it was just we were a bit underprepared. We hadn't properly recce'd it.
Who knew Gates was such a ball ache, man? Like, but no, with other films like Blue Sushi, there's the concert scene that we thought would be the most logistically hard, but it was the most fun, laid back, like.
We wrapped like 2 hours early. There were a few little things we had to kind of think on our feet, and this kind of happened in pre-production as well, but I think two of the big things that changed quite a lot due to production stuff were, one, there's a scene where Chris has Puck on his shoulders, and originally we'd written that to be in a lake. So the idea was he was wading through the water and they'd crash the rocket in the lake. But just production-wise, it was logistically, health and safety-wise, really dangerous. And, you know, I think we tried to push for it, but I think eventually it got to the point where Becky was like, I'm going to have to say no to that one, which is, you know, she made the right call.
And I think, and like,
The script, like, one word had to be swapped out in the
Yeah,
script. Like,
yeah.
instead of water, it was brambles.
One of the only other things we had to sort of compromise on a little bit was, because we did it all by the book, there was originally a scene that we wanted to be nighttime. And the way that has to work is you have to apply through the council of each individual child.
Yeah.
And what was really annoying was 3 of them came forward being like, yeah, the council were like, that's fine, absolutely fine. One of them was like, we can't do it.
Yeah.
So we did have to change that to like, they take an afternoon nap.
Yeah.
Which is one of those things where I'm like, damn it, like I feel like you get more of a sense of passing time if it was nighttime.
Yeah.
But
Like, narratively, the notion of them having like a middle of the day nap works, but no, we always like the idea of it being sort of, and the fire kind of, we wanted to have like them around a campfire, so the kind of the bluish hues of the nighttime with the nice oranges and stuff. But you know my story with the council, don't you?
yeah.
I was a big Doctor Who fan when I was younger. I'd already met David Tennant, so that was good. But I got a role in the Doctor Who, David Tennant's last Doctor Who Christmas special, The Two Doctors. Is that what it's called? The
Yeah,
New
yeah.
Doctor, something like that. And I was going to be in it, but my council fucked me over, and I had to go to school with the guy who replaced me.
Oh no.
I had to see him, and he didn't even like Doctor Who.
Was he
so-
smug?
No, like
Okay.
honestly, he was
Tell
like,
me, he was a bastard, wasn't
mate,
he?
he
He was a bastard.
he was like, it's just a job, mate. It's just like, it's a bit. It's,
Oh, just as a little kid.
yeah, it's just, I've got to get
It's
that
just a job,
buncing.
man.
I've got to get that buncing, you know what I mean? So that broke my heart. So I'm very, I have a lot of experience with councils being a pain in the arse. But yeah, that was an annoying logistical thing. But I don't, again, all these kind of compromises, I honestly don't think you can tell in the final film.
Yeah, I think the reality of filmmaking is thinking on your feet and compromising and working with the money you've got. And like, I think it doesn't matter what stage of making you get at, you are always going to run into those walls. So
Yeah.
like, I think that's just, that's the beast.
Do you remember the woman, the really lovely woman who helped us out at Wimbledon Common and kind of granted us permission? She told us a story about how she let a young, a student film crew go to Wimbledon Common and film. And she found out later, after the production was complete, that they were shooting porn in the forest. And you know what, it really does, it does sicken me, the thought that maybe, I don't know where they shot that,
Oh,
but I hope it's not
No.
the base camp. Like, I hope there's no like,
Fuck's sake.
there's no link somewhere where the comments are like, is this the base
this
camp?
the same?
Is this the base camp from Playground?
From Forest Sluts 3.
Yeah. Is this the location from Forest Sluts 3? I knew I saw it somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, let's hope that's not the case.
I hope not. There was a location we were looking at initially nearer to my house, and it's a much less picturesque park, and it's just not as nice. And like, there were crisp packets and condoms, and like, this was at a time where we didn't fully understand the logistics. So we thought we can rock up with like a small crew, these kids, and like, no, there's just like needles just on the floor.
It was there
They
were
would have
loads
died.
of shorts. Do you remember? We walked into a patch, and there were just loads of shorts on the floor.
The
and we
same,
were like,
the same rubbery pair of red shorts, all in this kind of crater, and I don't know what. It's like a
still
bit.
don't know.
It's like improv. It's like, all right, this is the crime scene. Like,
work backwards.
work backwards. What happened?
I think on this one it was really interesting working with Kieran, who, as I'm sure you know, is our DP. He's worked on Awesome with bloody everything. But it was interesting because I'd say Kieran generally is someone who really spends a lot of time perfecting and making sure everything is lit exactly the way he wants. And, the proof is in the pudding. Like, he's an incredible DP. But it was interesting, the approach on this one, because although he was, still doing a lot, he didn't take any lights into the forest at all.
No,
So
he
it was
didn't,
always
yeah.
bouncing light, which is a very valid and great way of lighting. But also, it was nice to kind of, I think, he was less scared of it being rough around the edges.
The visuals of a film aren't just the DP. It's everything, and I think the way Kieran's eye gelled with Sophie and Louis' work and Sylvia's work and just everything, I think it really kind of, it really sort of came together.
What was your sort of favourite moment? Do you have any highlights on set?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I really enjoyed filming the them chasing after the Snip Diddler scene. I think following behind them, I think those shots look really nice, and I really enjoyed practicing with them, like the run and stuff, and you know, it's the stuff that's less like dialogue focused, and you're less focused with eye lines and logistical stuff that you can like be kind of free with it, and I really like that. And I think in the final film, that moment within that chase scene where Chris holds up the sword and the music stings in a really nice way, and it's nice and slow-mo, and his performance is really good. I think that's like one of my favourite moments in the film. India was going around giving everyone face paint, and then when we wrapped, they all did a little dance that they'd been practicing the whole shoot, and it was just adorable, and my cold, grey, sludge-like, black heart
Melted.
it just melted to reveal this tiny little Kinder Egg treat, plasticky heart. And in that moment, I wasn't unhappy about things.
Oh my God, right.
But just in that moment.
But now I'm sad again.
So it's got to be that moment because it was the only one where I felt happy in my life.
Nice.
So
I think my personal highlight had to be that I was talking to India, who plays Captain, and she was telling me about certain YouTubers she liked to watch. And one of them that she mentioned was a friend of ours called Connie. And she was like, I really like Nudorella. And so just like very behind the scenes and very sneakily, I was just like, I'm gonna get Connie on FaceTime and like get them to chat. And so I kind of surprised her with it. And they had this little chat and it was very cute. But then my favourite bit was from there, India had a really bad gauge on how fame works, and so from that moment on sort of thought I knew everyone, and then was like, do you know Ellen? And I was like, which Ellen? She was like, the one that's Ellen DeGeneres. And I was like, I don't know, sorry, I can't get her on FaceTime. Once we'd shot it, you and I sat in a room in the YouTube Space London for about, God, how long were we editing this for?
I want to say total like a week, like 12 hours a day, probably. That was like that was didn't we say? Yeah, I literally remember saying like, I'm waking up at 8 a.m, I'm going to work, I'm back home at like 6. Like it felt like I was sort of doing a job, so to speak.
Right, like an office job.
Like an office job, yeah.
Once it was cut, so there were basically, I guess, 5 main people in post-production, which was David was our VFX guy. We'd never worked with David before.
But yeah, he does a lot of, recently he's been doing a lot of like Tom Scar's stuff, and he's like very, very good. God, and I fucked up as well because basically I cut together all the shots from that rocket ship scene that needed VFX doing, and he did them all, and then I looked back and I was like, I forgot to send him some. And it was literally, he just sent me an email saying, right, well, it's been a pleasure, guys. I'm gonna get stuck into this next project now. And I had to be like, hello, there is some more. I didn't know, fucked it, I'm sorry. And then Dan Pugsley, sound design, we did ADR with Dan Pugsley, which is like dubbing and stuff, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of just Chris having to grunt. Just
Tom Rosenthal had sort of written some songs for us, 2 songs. Then we had Kieran doing the grade. And then Tom Barnes was
Tom Barnesy boy,
music man. What I really like about working with Tom is that I very rarely have to talk specifics. Like I'm very rarely like, oh, I'd like a violin here or something like that. It's more often than not, it's like I'm able to just communicate 100% what we're after in terms of just narrative. A good example of this actually would be there's 2 voicemails that play in the film. In the first one, during the montage, we want the voicemail to feel like an irritant, and actually the music is matched up to what you're seeing on screen. They're all running around.
It feels like the voicemail's more invasive.
Right.
Hey, I'm here now. Just arrived. Sorry, I was gonna text, but figured it'd be easier to call. So, the parking situation's a bit strange.
So on the second one, you're scoring the voicemail, not the visuals, and therefore that gets poignancy, and it's actually the visuals that feel sort of like, oh, why are they doing that?
Ezra, the service starts in 10 minutes. Where the fuck are you? Jesus Christ, everyone keeps asking about you. I don't know what to tell them. I can't keep stalling like this. For God's sake, please tell me you're nearly here.
So he's great in terms of just being able to have that kind of conversation with him and not having to worry about the logistics, that's kind of, he's good to deal with that.
Well, he's just interested in what you're trying to convey at any point. He just feels, he just feels what is right, and I think that's such a great way to because it, it's creative, isn't it? You don't want it to be a math. You've told me that you pretty much never rewatch your own stuff.
Correct.
And for me, if I've made something, I'll watch it a bunch when it first comes out. I'll watch it a month after that, 2 months after that, 3 months, to the point where maybe 6 months later, I'll watch it having not watched it for a few months and have an entirely fresh perspective on it. And I either think it's worse than I remembered or better than I remembered. By that time, you can be a bit more objective. And that's the thing. Whenever I finish a film, I kind of don't have an opinion about it until 6 months down the line, and it hasn't been 6 months since
so
Playground.
But
no, currently I'm still bloody proud of it. But you, regardless of how you feel, you want to stay away from it.
Yeah, it's almost like it sounds funny to say, but it's like when I release it, that's when I'm almost like the most proud of it, right? Because I've just finished it. I know exactly what it feels like. I know how we got there, and I'm like, now I want to release that into the world. Now I want to go and tell that story. But then once I've done that, I almost prefer the memory of it. I always remember the lessons I've learned from each thing, and I always sort of take a mental note of like, what can we do differently next time, and that kind of thing. I don't get a lot out of watching my own stuff. With a lot of the stuff we make, often there is that kind of sense of like, look, this is the budget we've got, this is the resources we've got, let's make this idea the best we can make it. And albeit that does stand alone as an item, I hope, I think in the back of their heads we are always thinking about, shorts isn't what we want to do forever, and I think that there is a degree to which it's like, you like this concept, you like this idea, you like these characters, let's see them on a bigger screen, let's see them doing something different. And like, there are a lot of really, great examples of people who have managed to do that, and I think there's a degree to which it's like, look, here's the heart of what this thing looks like, and this is made on like...
It's like a mood board.
Right. And it's made on like what is ultimately a tiny budget. It's kind of like, hey, this is what we can make for this. What if you did throw some dollar at us?
And it's interesting, like, on that subject, I've always felt that like us lot and the short films we make, what's kind of interesting about them is that they do, and I don't know if this is for better or worse, but they do kind of feel like these longer stories that have been shortened, because we do have such a desire to make features and stuff. Like, before I started doing short films and before I kind of saw people around me making short films, my perception of a short film would be, it'd be something that would usually take place in one room, and it wouldn't really be about any characters. It'd be more about the situation. I think it's interesting, like, using 15-20 minutes to tell these longer stories. I think sometimes we really win, and it's very successful, and sometimes it's less successful. And I just think it's the medium of film. I think the shorts we make are kind of, I don't know, they're somewhere in between what you'd expect a kind of 5-minute short film and a sort of feature film to be. Maybe they're a big, ugly sort of mutt.
They're rubbish.
Yeah.
They're awful.
Poo-poo.
We should stop.
I'm very happy to kind of have it under our belt and like,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a good movie.
We're fucking great.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, cool. I think that pretty much. Guys, thank you so much for watching. What is your favourite film? Leave a comment. No. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed us talking about Playground and stuff like that.
Yeah, thanks for the support on it, and like, thanks for sticking with us. And yeah, I really mean that. I don't know. Yeah. It's really cool, and it's nice, and I love what we get to do. So thank you.
We love you.
It's literally my favourite thing in the world.
It's really nice. All right, bless you. Have a blessed day.
Bye.
Bye.
When I was 15, I had my first son.
Oh my goodness, you're 11.
She had me going crazy. Oh, I was so. She had me up. Daisy, don't need no dog.
Oh!
She made my heart pound. 3 feet in the sea on the street, and it's around. But I really want to see her on the side. You know she got me Daisy, cause she was.
That's for a movie.
But I just kept my face the one. Wait, Lassie!
Oh, no.
Mommy, you're coming as well!
I'm going to send it What is happening? I think I'm asleep. When does it end?